They say there was once a hunter, strong of arm and sharp of eye, who sought to bend the forest to his will. Yet it was not the lion, not the leopard, nor even the spirit of the river that taught him the greatest lesson of his life. No, it was the python, the silent serpent, whose coils wrapped not just around trees, but around the very heart of wisdom itself. And to this day the elders still ask, what do you chase in haste that might have been yours in patience? Listen well, for this tale comes from a time when villages spoke in drums, when the moon was the witness of secrets, and when men still argued with spirits in the thick of the forest. Far beyond the red dust roads, in a land where tall iroko trees pierced the sky like watchtowers, and where the mighty river Omi snaked through valleys like a silver thread, there stood the village of Ajé. The people of Ajé were known across the neighboring lands for two things: their fine hunters and their deep respect for the forest. Their huts were woven with raffia, their roofs sloped with palm fronds, and every evening smoke curled upward from clay pots heavy with yam pottage, palm oil stew, and the scent of roasting bushmeat. Children ran barefoot in the sand, their laughter ringing like the bells tied to goats' necks, while elders sat on wooden stools beneath the great baobab tree, trading proverbs that carried the wisdom of ages. The people lived close to the land, close to the spirits that dwelled in water, stone, and sky. The forest was both their provider and their judge. It gave them firewood, fruits, and game, but it also watched them with eyes unseen. To the careless, the forest was unforgiving. To the patient, it revealed its secrets. Among the hunters of Ajé, none was as celebrated as Olumo. Tall, with skin bronzed by the sun and muscles shaped by countless treks, Olumo was swift with the spear and unerring with the bow. His voice was deep, his stride long, and when he walked through the village, young men admired him, and maidens whispered his name behind calabash gourds of water. Olumo was brave, clever, and strong, but also proud. He hunted not only to feed the people, but to prove himself above all other hunters. Where others saw the forest as a teacher, Olumo saw it as a challenge to be conquered. He often said, "Why wait for the antelope to step into your trap when you can chase it down with your legs?" And though the elders warned him, the forest rewards patience more than speed. Olumo laughed. Patience is for those who are weak. A true hunter bends the forest to his will. And so, while others sat by the fire to share meat and tales, Olumo boasted of his kills, counting skins and horns as proof of his greatness. Yet, unknown to him, pride is a shadow that blinds the eyes, and the forest does not forget. One day, as dawn stretched its golden fingers across the sky, and the drums of the village faded into the morning mist, Olumo rose with his bow, his quiver full, and his spear sharpened. His heart was restless. He wanted a hunt that would silence the whispers of envy among the other hunters. He wanted a beast so rare, so mighty, that no one could ever question his greatness again. That morning, as he stepped into the forest, the air felt different, thicker, charged with an unseen presence. The birds did not sing as they usually did, and the monkeys were strangely silent. Only the rustle of the wind through the leaves accompanied his footsteps. Deep in the undergrowth, he spotted tracks, massive, winding, as if a great tree had dragged itself through the earth. Olumo's eyes gleamed. "This," he muttered, crouching to study the trail, "is no antelope, no boar, no leopard. This is something greater." The path led him farther and farther from the village, past groves where spirits were said to dwell, past streams where women never fetched water after dark, and into the deepest heart of the forest where the trees grew so thick that little sunlight could pierce their crowns. Hours passed. Sweat glistened on his forehead. But then he saw it. Coiled across a clearing, its body thick as a mortar and long as a fallen palm, lay the python. Its scales shimmered in dappled light, green and gold, as if woven by the gods themselves. Its tongue flickered, tasting the air, and its eyes, oh, its eyes, were pools of patience, calm, endless, unbothered by the smallness of man. Olumo's breath caught in his chest. Here was a trophy beyond compare. If he could bring back the python's skin, no hunter, no elder, no spirit could ever doubt his supremacy. Without hesitation, he raised his spear, but just as he stepped forward, a voice rose, not in sound but in the depths of his mind, slow, deep, ancient. "Hunter," it said, "why do you hurry? Why do you rush, as though the forest will vanish before your eyes? Do you not know that time bends like the river, patient and eternal?" Olumo froze. His spear trembled in his hand. He looked around, but there was no one. Only the python's steady gaze met his own. Shaking off his unease, Olumo shouted, "I am Olumo, the greatest hunter of Aje. The forest bows to me, and today you will too." The python's tongue flickered again, and its coils shifted lazily. "Greatest hunter, then show me not your haste, but your patience. For a spear thrown in pride wounds the hand that casts it." But Olumo was not one to heed riddles. With a cry, he hurled his spear. It struck, but only against empty ground. For in the blink of an eye, the python had vanished into the undergrowth, silent as the passing of time itself. Furious, Olumo pursued. Day faded into dusk, and still he chased the winding trail. Through rivers waist-deep, through thorn thickets that tore at his skin, he pressed on, each step driven not by hunger, but by pride. Night fell, and strange lights flickered between the trees, spirits, laughing, whispering. A trickster spider crossed his path and said, "Hunter, where do you rush? Even the moon waits its turn." But Olumo brushed it aside. Days turned into weeks. His food ran low, his strength waned, yet always the python was ahead, just out of reach, leading him deeper into lands where no man dared walk. At times he stumbled into villages of spirits, where children with eyes like fire sang riddles he could not answer. At times he crossed rivers guarded by crocodiles, who demanded stories in exchange for safe passage. Each trial tested him, not his spear, but his patience. Yet always, Olumo's heart burned with pride. At last, weary and near despair, he found himself at the mouth of a vast cave. From within came the sound of breathing, slow, heavy, ancient. He stepped inside, and there it was, the python, coiled like a mountain, eyes glowing like twin moons in the dark. "Hunter," the voice rumbled, shaking the stones. "You have chased me across rivers, through thorns, past spirits, and into the heart of the earth itself. Tell me, what have you gained?" Olumo raised his bow, though his arms trembled with exhaustion. "If I slay you, I gain glory. My name will live forever." The python uncoiled, rising higher and higher until its head touched the roof of the cavern. "Glory? You left your village hungry. You abandoned your people to chase pride. The forest has tested you, and you have learned nothing. Strength without patience is like fire without a pot. It burns but cooks nothing." Then the python struck, not with fangs, but with words that pierced deeper than any wound. "Olumo, you sought to master the forest, yet you could not master yourself. The hunter who cannot wait will starve though the forest overflows with game." Olumo dropped his bow, his knees buckled. For the first time his pride crumbled, and tears welled in his eyes. "What must I do?" he whispered. The python lowered its massive head until its eyes met his. "Return to your people. Hunt not for glory but for sustenance. Learn to wait as the python waits, silent, patient, enduring. Only then will you know true mastery." And with that, the python faded into the darkness, leaving Olumo alone in the cave. He staggered back to the village, thin and weary, his clothes torn, his pride broken. At first, the people mocked him. "Where is your great trophy? Where is your glory?" But Olumo said nothing. He sat with the elders, listened to their proverbs, and for the first time, held his tongue until the right moment. When he hunted again, he no longer chased recklessly. He waited. He observed. He let the forest speak before he acted. And in time, he brought back more game than ever before, not because of his strength, but because of his patience. Years passed, and Alumo became an elder himself. When the young hunters boasted, he smiled and told them this tale. And always he ended with the same words. A spear thrown in haste misses the mark, but patience strikes true. Remember the python taught me. And so the people of Ajay learned that patience is the companion of wisdom, and that haste is the brother of regret. As the elders say, the child who runs ahead of his father does not know the road. Thank you for listening to this tale on Timeless Tales Africa. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you never miss the next timeless tale. Until we meet again, may the wisdom of our ancestors guide your path.